This week's podcast is a good one, so I want you to launch into what I normally say when I start a podcast. Go.
And welcome to Body Science Podcast.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to the House of Fit, Happy and Healthy. And today I've got one of my besties in the room. How are you, Link?
Good,
Link
buddy.
Lewis.
Thanks for having me in, mate. Good to see you.
And look, I was watching TV on the weekend, doing a bit of a Netflix binge. The wife was away and Black Site came on. And I'd actually forgotten that you were in it. And I'm watching this and I thought, holy shit, I know that head. And so
Always change the channel, right?
So I've texted you and I've gone, oh, yes, this you, da-da-da. And you've written back, am I stabbed yet? And I've gone, well, that's a good movie for me now. Like, that movie's all over. So I thought, stuff you, Link. I'm going to call you up. I'm going to get you in for a podcast. I'm going to get one back on you.
And now here we are.
Here. So it's really good to have you in, mate. Look, what I want to talk about with you today is you. Like, we know it all kicked off with Home and Away. We know you've done a Neighbours stint. We know you've done some cool movies, and we'll get to that. But I want to talk about the real Link Lewis. Like, I spend a lot of time with you. You know, once a week we try and catch up and have a hot and cold bath. Or does that sound really bad?
No. And we do massages on each other. No.
We definitely don't do that. But him and I normally get in the pool together, and there's 4 pools where we go.
Yeah.
And we should shout out to the crew, but by the time that we finish those baths, everyone's in the same bath as us.
Basically.
So you do wreck my days when we do that.
We spin some good stories, and after a while, you get all the other pools, they start sort of throwing in their 2 cents, and then they're just kind of like, well, hang on a minute, I'm just going to jump in. And we have like a full pool after that, and we all just start migrating from one to the other,
And you are a good guy. Like people who know you, no one's got a bad word to say about you. Is that been something really hard to do in your career as an actor?
Look, first and foremost, no matter what, we'll always have our bad days. You know what I mean? And no matter what, there's always going to be, you'll have people who have positive things to say about you, but there will always be someone who will have something very negative to say about you. And that's just life and everything like that. But at the end of the day, look, I've had a lot of bad days and stuff like that, but I've got a really amazing mum with really incredible morals. And awesome. She's always just sort of went, she's just instilled that thing of always try to be better than what you were yesterday. And if you can make someone smile, then you've made a good day. You know what I mean? And you always try and make someone's day. And in turn, that's going to make your day. So look, I'm happy to be here. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's, waking up's free. and you just, we're just lucky to be here. And every day Mum would always just say, look, we get to call Australia home. We get to wake up here and we get to live this amazing life. And so I'm always stoked on that and always just happy. If I get to chat, I'll talk the leg off a chair. You know what I mean? And as you, I can see it in your eyes right now. But look, every interaction I have, I'm genuinely happy to have a chat. And I think it's just one of those things where if I can have a good conversation with someone, it just makes my day. So hopefully that just turns into a good interaction. So I walk away with a smile on my face and hopefully someone can walk away with a smile on their face. And I'm like, sweet, that was a good day today.
And let's talk about it. Is it really hard? Like, you're a public figure, and there's a lot of public figures in Australia. But when you hit the streets, and I've been out for coffees with you and stuff, and everybody wants to come and say hello, and everybody wants a little piece of you at times. Is it really hard to keep that like you're a frother? Like I dig your Instagram because I just go, oh look, it's you, and it's this and that, and it's you doing cool shit. And I love the authenticity of you as a person. But is that really hard to take out? Like I can get in my car, go home, shut the door, and be Greg that nobody really cares about, bar my family and a few friends and stuff. But you walk the street and everyone's got an attitude on your last movie, your last this, your family life, or whatever it is. Someone's got an attitude or a comment on that. How hard is it to really stay true to you?
Well, I think I think everything I approach, I always make sure stays true to me. And if I don't have I think that's one of those things where you always got to find that energy, but it's not really hard for me because if anything, I find it hard to switch off. And when I get home, it's time to recharge the batteries and stuff. But when you're out, I'm always stoked. And and I guess I've been lucky enough to grow up with a family that's always been in the public eye. So you kind of understand that when you're doing things that are in the public eye, that's part of the territory. Yeah. And now that I'm lucky enough to have lived my dream and hopefully that can keep continuing, if people are coming up, this is one thing that Johnny Farnham said, and I will never forget it until I can't remember anything anymore. I met him when I was a kid, and then a couple of years ago, I met him at this event up in Northern Territory, and we went backstage, and I was having a bit of a chat with him, and this other singer was there, and all three of us were having a bit of a yarn. And so as we're getting ready to leave, we said, all right, well, let's have a photo. And so I took the photo with my mate and him first. Cool. all good. Took a couple. And before it was my turn, that's when my mate chose to go, does this bug you if people ask for photos? And I thought, if he says yes, before I've got my photo with him, before he's due to go on stage, I'm going to feel so foolish. But he said something without even hesitating, and it will always stick with me. And so like I said, there wasn't even air between the start of his sentence and the end of my mate's. And so when he said, does it bother you that people ask for photos? And he said, no, I'll tell you what, it'll bother me when it stops.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because it was genuine appreciation. And the way he said it, and it was just there was no ego about it. It was just truth, saying when people come up to you, it means that they've taken time out of their lives to listen to his music, to watch a show I might have done or a film I might have done. And so anytime someone comes up to me, if they're not coming up and throwing fruit at me, I'm stoked. It's more of a genuine appreciation. The fact that, like I said, one, they've taken time out of their day or night to watch a project I've done, but then they're taking time out of their day to come and say hello. And so for me, I'm actually filled with gratitude. And so, yeah, like we all have energy depletion at the end of the day and stuff like that. But if I don't know, if someone comes up with a nice, positive, enthusiastic attitude or whatever it may be, it actually sort of, I don't know, I feel like I'm recharged a bit. And there's only ever been 2 times in my entire life where something has happened in the public and I've lost my cool a bit. But it was just more so like I was getting a photo and these ladies had a bit too much to drink and then they've just grabbed my bits straight in the middle of
lucky
like,
shot, eh?
I'll tell you what. And it was in the middle of a footy stadium.
Not
so
lucky
there's
for
people
you,
around
I meant
it. And
like,
it was one of those moments where I just
in a footy stadium.
It was a footy stadium, people around, other people were going to get a photo and stuff like that. And they've just there and they just grabbed. And I've just lost it because, it's one of those things. But but apart from that, where it's complete disrespect, anything else is just me just being I just appreciate it. And so, yeah, I like if someone's going to come up and have a chat, it's one of those things where I'm like, in my own head, I know I'm screaming thank you because I know what it's like to be an unemployed actor. And I know what it's like I know what it's like to be sitting around going, I would love to get another job, but no one's hiring me. And so if people are coming up and talking about something that I've done, it's me just being very appreciative that, that they've watched something and they want to come up and say hello and have a chat about it.
Nice. Mate, how hard is it being an actor? Like I come to work, I know I've got a job on Monday and I know what I'm earning and I know all those things. Like how hard is it to, like, everybody goes, wow, great life, this and that.
Yeah.
And like, how hard is it really to be
It's that
an actor?
perception, isn't it? Yeah. Just like anything, people will always see the success, whether it's you've got the job, you've made the sale, you're a sports person who's just won, you've just made a team, I've gotten a role, whatever it may be, people will always see the success. But just like anything in life, people will never see, only you will know every struggle you've ever had to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, nice.
And so with the acting game, sometimes it's a little hard because no matter how much you study, no matter how hard you work at it, there can be just one small non-personal defining factor, which is why you didn't get the role.
Yeah.
And it's not personal. You may just, that other person their look may suit the role more, or who knows, their hair color, their voice, anything. And it's just they are more suited to the role, and it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that they fit the role. And so you got to kind of always have that tough skin to go on to the next, on to the next. Got to make sure that, you stay on your game, as Will Smith says, stay ready so you never have to get ready. And you just got to always be prepared for the next opportunity. But you always got to be prepared to take that rejection. Like, 95% of this industry is just based on rejection.
Yeah.
Go for auditions, spend hours and hours working on your script to do the audition. Cool, there was one thing I wish I would have done better, but that's okay. I'm really happy overall. Go out, call your agent, did a good job, all that kind of stuff. Don't hear a single thing. And that's it. And then another time, they really loved it, but they're going to go another way. You don't even
get feedback, or you don't get the reason.
No, because when you think about it, there's like hundreds or thousands of people that go for the same role as you. And that could be if it's a local project, hundreds or a couple of thousands. But then there's other ones where it's tens of thousands, because I could be sending a tape over to the US. So everyone who's going for that same role, same age range, all ethnicities, everything in America, Australia, England, all going for New Zealand, all going for that same role.
Yeah.
And then you may get the call back and make the final, and that cool. Here's your little bit of feedback. But if not, they've got too many to worry about.
Mate, what's worse?
So
final 10 or no feedback?
Final 2 is a hard one.
Oh.
That's a hard one, because like you make that, you're climbing, you're auditioning. Yep, you've got that euphoria because I'm one step closer.
Yep.
Cool. You do the second round. You do it. Great. They want to see you again. You're in the final round. Cool. Hours. You call your acting coach. You're going through it. You sleepless nights because you're thinking about the role, thinking about new ways to approach that line in that scene. And then, wait, I've got to write that down. Get up, write it down, go over it in your head. Just keep doing that scene, but you don't want to overdo it where it's looks like it's over prepared, because you want it to look like because acting is just it's just being and believing. It's conversation, it's engaging, and you're getting words on a paper that's making it real so that someone watching it can feel and go through that journey with you. It's awesome. I love that process.
Yeah.
But when you're creating that, because you can't sit back going, okay, how would Greg do this scene? I know he's a really good actor. How would he do this scene? He'd maybe approach it a bit like this, because if you do that, I'm not going to beat your own game.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things going, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to analyze this character? I'm creating this because of the brief, and then I think that this would serve the story better. So then you're just creating and going, okay, I'm going to change that a little bit more, because that actually creates more of an arc rather than just a stale delivery. Going over it and over and over and over it. And then, you're going over with your acting coach. And then you have a reader. Let's go over it with that. Oh, that's giving me a new idea. Change it again. Go over it. And then you do your audition. You prepare, then you do it, and you can walk out on top of the world. And then all of a sudden you may leave. And so many times it's just, any feedback? Not yet. Couple of days down the track. So they loved your audition. They loved everything you did. They're going to go another way. So on to the next.
Oh, boo that.
That's the way it goes. And so, but just
so
like
how many times does that happen a year for you? Is this regular?
Hundreds, thousands.
Wow.
You do so many auditions, and that's that thing. As an actor, you just got to get back on that horse and keep doing it. Which is why you see over time, it's what I say if I'm ever teaching an acting class, or if people say, what advice have you got for the someone entering the industry or someone in the industry, is just one, it's persistence. You can't. It's a persistence game, because there's no shortcuts. There's only that 0.001% of people who have been approached on the street and they go, we really like you. We want you to come in and have a meeting. And then you're a lead actor. You may hear those stories, but good media. It's so rare. It's so beyond rare. It's not even funny. So it is good. It is good to sort of, you take that as a bit of motivation and whatnot, but there is no shortcuts in this. And that's another thing I say, is that you can't cheat the process. Yeah. It's persistence. It takes hard work and dedication. And if you're not preparing yourself, like all the P's, however many P's, proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. Yep. And your performance is
Did you practice that before you come in?
Yeah, I thankfully I got that right. But it's always just going to be a testament. You got to put in the work, because if you don't, it's going to show, because everything, you're bearing your soul, parts of your own experiences, parts that you've created. It's all melding together for a character that you've put together to put, out there. Yep. So if you're not putting in the work, and so that's why I say you can't cheat the process. You've got to put in the hard work. And while for someone like me, I'm jumping around and I'm, frothing on life and everything, and it sort of sometimes gives off that persona, which is like, okay, it's a bit of a happy-go-lucky. Oh, he's just kind of, he got that role, and he's it doesn't look like I'm behind the scenes putting in the hard work, because I'll put out the happy stuff on Instagram, and whenever I'm out and about, I'm stoked on life. But like anything, no one really sees the hard work you put in behind closed doors when no one else is around. Yeah, exactly. And the years and years and years that you put in, the ups and downs, and times when you're sitting there on the couch or in the bed and you feel like bawling your eyes out going, is this it for me? Am I never going to work again? And then you're continuously doing it. But that's that thing that's you behind closed doors. And outside, I just try and spread as much positivity as I can. But that's just that. Yeah, that's the game. And
oh, man, I love that.
Yeah.
Let's flip that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the start, the first gig you got.
Yeah.
The first one that turned you into the good-looking human you are. Obviously, you can easily go from a 5 to a 10 with the right gig.
With a good filter and good lighting. Exactly. That's what I need,
Yeah, so. No, and so you're batting well. What was the big start for you? Was it back in the old days of like Home and Away? And
Home and Away was my breakout role. Yep. Yeah. So I started at 13 and just doing acting classes. And that was when I was 13, it was one audition a year, but doing acting workshops. And then when I was 15, I was an extra in a coffee commercial. And so if we've ever said, in a coffee commercial, that was my first ever gig. It was just an extra in this line. It was when they launched Zaraffa's coffee, right? And so yeah, it's just a dude in the line. As the camera's going past, you're seeing like 20 people in the line before it gets to the main guy. And this little 15-year-old, and funnily enough, I got there and I knew the lead actor of the ad because he was with my agency, right? Yep. So I was standing there talking to him. The director of the ad comes over. The owner of the company comes over. They're having a chat. And so I'm there, just this little 15-year-old. And the assistant of either the director or the owner comes over and goes, all right, guys, what do you want? Coffees, what are you having? And inside I'm shitting myself because I'm going, if I tell them I don't like coffee or I don't drink coffee, they might not put me in the commercial.
But you don't drink coffee.
I don't. And so I'm like, I don't. Oh, no. And they're all giving their orders. She looks at me and I thought, if I say anything else, they might say, you don't drink coffee, you're off the commercial. That's where my mind's going. So I'm like, just fake it till you make it, champ. So I was just like, what have I heard people order before? Flat white. And okay, how many sugars? And I was like, give me 3 or 4 sugars. And they were like, oh, Jesus, you got a sweet tooth. I was like, yeah, okay. They bring over this coffee that was about that big, massive bloody thing. And I've just done the old acting sip. And I've tasted it. And the moment it hit my lips is the last time coffee's ever touched my lips. Not to say it was bad coffee. Yeah. I just don't like coffee.
You're not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, so I'm a hot chocolate man or a green tea man. And so everyone else's was going down and my phone was staying at the top no matter how many times I was doing that. And so that was a coffee commercial. And then I was doing extra work for TV shows like The Sleepover Club, H2O.
What's extra work?
The extra work is like a background person. So if you ever
walking past.
Yeah. So if we're sitting here in the camera, like the camera right here, and someone will walk past, that's a background artist, or extra is what we used to call it, but now it's referred to as a background artist. So for years I did that and I absolutely loved the extra work. I still think of it as some of my most fondest memories to this day.
Okay.
Because you get on set every day, you're meeting new people, you're not in the spotlight, so you're sitting there but the conversations that you're having to have and the acting that you're doing is all the same, because it's just you have to do it as a mute. Because if you're in a set and the 2 lead actors, 3, whatever it is they're having their conversations, you're in the background. And if you ever see people that are talking at a cafe or something like that and they're having a conversation, they're not talking, they're miming. But it all has to look real. And so you have to make this look real, get past the awkwardness, all that kind of stuff. So you're sitting there and sometimes you'll see the yep background. So it's just sitting there going, it's just,
I'm going to look for that now. Like, my movie's a wreck now.
Yeah, but it's just pretending conversation. And I loved that because it's sort of, you get the feel for being on set. Yeah. You're starting to learn set etiquette about where everything fits, where you fall, can't stuff around as soon as you get on there, everything. If you take the time to actually go, okay, I need to learn as much as I can, which I tell any actor, as soon as you get on set, learn as much as you can. Realize that it's a juggernaut. Everything is happening. So just take it all in, absorb it. And so, I was doing background work for a lot of these shows and still doing auditions for things. And then slowly I'd get...
Do you put them on your resume when you pitch out in the future? Like, is that...
It's just part of the resume to say, from this year, this. And then in brackets, it has what your role is. So we'll say extra. And then this will say featured extra, which means the camera might focus on you for that little bit longer. And so I would get a little bit more here and there. So maybe featured in a commercial, just that little bit more. Yeah. And then a Nutri-Grain commercial, and then or a little bit featured there, and bits and pieces, and then a little speaking role, and then just speaking role here and there and everywhere. And then I auditioned for Home and Away when I was in grade 12. Okay. And I made the short list. It was the first time I auditioned for Home and Away. And I made the final 3. And I flew to Sydney. I think it was on like the Tuesday to do my audition for that. Or no, or maybe it was, and I was in the final couple for Power Rangers at the time as well.
Okay.
So I flew to Sydney twice in the same week. I did not sleep the week before that because I was so nervous. A little 16-year-old, nervous as hell, going for these roles. I watched Power Rangers growing up. Everyone knows of Home and Away. And I was just all night going over my stuff every single night. And then, going to school. And I never really told anyone at school I was doing acting. That was just kind of my thing.
Okay.
Like played footy for club, footy for school. And on the side, I'll do weekend workshops with casting directors down here on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And for the most part, at the time, it was, if you were in Queensland, you couldn't be taken seriously as an actor unless you were going to move to Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah, okay.
And now, thankfully, it's done that 180 where it's just everything is happening here. But it's sort of showing, like, thankfully with technology, we can send auditions 2 seconds later, they've got it in an email. Yeah. Whereas back then, you'd record it on a VHS and then you'd have to put the VHS tape in bubble wrap, express post it to Sydney. They'd have a look at it.
You might be giving your age away a little bit now, mate.
Yeah. That's just
I reckon half the crew outside don't even know what a VHS tape
is. And so, I auditioned for Home and Away and then made the final 3. I was in Sydney, and that's when I first met Ray Ma, who plays Alf, the icon of the show.
Icon. Yeah.
And this is something, if I can just digress for a sec, this is something that will always stick with me. And this is another thing of appreciation and passing on what you've learned and everything like that. So here I am, this 16-year-old, nervous as hell, going in there, Lincoln, Ray, Lincoln is like, "G'day, young fella." I was like, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you." And he goes, "Do you want to do a quick line run, quick speed run of the scene before we get going on the camera?" And I was just like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And we did a quick speed run, and he noticed that I was a bit nervous. And he didn't need to do this because he sees actors come in all the time, right? So he didn't need to do what he did. And he just looks at the casting director and goes, "Take 5, love." And she just goes, "Sure." She sits down. And there's 2 chairs there because we're sitting down the scene. He goes, "Sit down, young fella." I was like, "Okay." So we sat down and he goes, "How are you feeling about the scene?" And I was like, yeah, good. And he goes, "All right, let's have a quick chat about it." And he spent the next 5 minutes breaking down the scene with me, going through it line by line, and then asking me questions about how I would feel. Let's say, for instance, he'd be like, "All right, if I was saying this to you on the street, how would you feel if I come up to you and said this?" And I said, "Oh, I'd feel a bit like that." And he goes, "Exactly. So do you think that would maybe reflect it if you were delivering that line like that to me in the scene?" And just basic, but just enough.
So good.
But he didn't need to, and then like that was just one thing that he did, but he was just continuously doing it for this, 5, maybe a bit longer minutes. But he didn't need to do this. I was just one of the kids that was coming in auditioning for this role. We went through it one more time and he goes, "Better. How you feeling?" I said, "Good." And he goes, "Right, we're ready to go, love." We did the scene, felt good. Did the next scene, felt good. And he said, "Good on you, mate. Take it easy. All the best." And I've left, feel like I sort of thought, that felt good. I don't know. I didn't have much to compare it to. But, and I made the final 3 for that role. The following year, made the final 2 for a different role. And then the following year, I got Jeff, which was my breakout role in Home and Away. But what he did for me on that one day is something I will always remember. Because he didn't need to do that. And he did, because he's like, "I want to help the younger generation. I want to help this young kid, and hopefully that'll further him somewhere." And I remember saying that to him when I got onto the show. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, we just got to help each other, don't we?" And like he passed it off as nothing, as almost like, "Yeah, that's just what you do."
And do you think that culture, like we have it in business, we talk about the culture of a business. Do you think that culture is a success of that franchise? Like it's still going strong
to this day?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of factors that play to the success of that show. One of them is, first and foremost, the aesthetics of the show. Yep. It just shows the beautiful Australian lifestyle, the blues, the sand, the ocean, the sky, everything. Summer Bay, always beautiful, always summery, unless, the storyline needs it to be raining or something like that. But the aesthetics is always something beautiful to watch. But yeah, I think definitely the culture that people like Ray Ma, like Lynn McGranger, who plays Irene, Ada Nicodemu, who plays Ada, and then some of the others who were on the show for ages, I think they definitely kept that going, because there is, I think, especially in Australia, but for those long running shows, there's a lot of no bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the crew as well, just as much as the actors, the crew they don't muck around. Like, if there's time to have a good chat, but they've got a job to do and they do it. And so when I got onto the show, I remember just, even if I didn't have scenes, I would go into the studio and just watch Ray. So Alf, because as an actor, he's the ultimate professional. He would walk on set, quickly say, "Hey mate, how you going?" Walk on. Knew what he was doing. Wait for them to, "Ray, you're here." "Yep, no worries." We do the scene, 2 shot with whatever, wide shot, close up, everything like that. Scene's done in half an hour. "Great. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you." He walks off. Quickly says hello to one of the crew guys if they've got time, have a quick chat for a second. He's like, "Righto, mate, talk to you later." Off.
Yeah.
He's got time to have a chat if there is time, but if not, he's in, he's out. You never have to worry about him. And that is the signs of an ultimate professional. And so I think people like him, but then the crew who just go, if you're going to be on some show like that, you've got, I'm going to say one job, but there's a lot of jobs that fit into that, but it's almost like you've got one job. Know your stuff. Be on set on time, do your homework and know your stuff. Get there.
Because it's tight production, that show, isn't it?
Oh, it's tight.
Yeah.
Because you'll do films and they'll be like, "Okay, we've got 7 scenes that we've got to shoot today." Home and Away, you're shooting about 20. And so every single week you're shooting the equivalent of, we're shooting 5 episodes a week easy, because like just as a way of breaking it down, if you're shooting on location, you're shooting episodes for you'll be shooting scenes for the episodes that the following week you'll be shooting for in studio, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So if I'm in studio shooting the scenes, the prior week to that, I was shooting all of that episode's location.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just a well-oiled engine that just keeps going. And so you have to know what's going on for about 10 episodes at a time. You may not be in all of them, so you might be less, but you always have to be, like I said, you have to do the homework and you have to just be on it. But it makes it fun. It's the best.
It's awesome.
It's just the best. I loved my time on that show. So, and especially I got the show when I was 19, and you hit the ground running, and you just gotta, it's sink or swim. And if you're going to put in the hard work, you can have the best time.
Mate, apart from regular cash from working like in that type of space where it's a week after week after week gig,
yeah,
how did your life change? Come on, we all want to know. Come on, just between you and me.
Just
us.
Just between us.
Just us two, yeah.
Yeah, us two on these little microphones. Here we go.
I can't do that. I'm 54 if I do that.
Look,
you're an actor. You can do what you want. Come on.
It's
how to change.
It's a bit of a whirlwind. I'm not going to lie because
how old are you? 19.
19 at the time.
And you're on TV.
Yeah.
And
you're on Australia's
show.
most popular television show at a time when streaming services hadn't come out yet. And free to wear is king. So you get on the show that everyone in school watches. And so it was crazy because when I got the show for the first 2 months, I wasn't on screens because everything is filmed obviously in advance. So I got to be on set and you got to go out with the cast and not be part of the on-screen cast.
Yeah, gotcha.
And really just enjoy the moment of being around. But I remember when my first episode went on air, and then the next day I was shooting on location. And I wasn't used to this because you're on set just filming stuff and people are like, they're not taking any notice because you don't know who that is. And then all of a sudden I was on, and then we're on location. And you get these people that are running over, getting a photo with, that main actor, and then they run over to you and they go, then they say the thing, they say your character name, they say your real name. Here's paper. Can we get your autograph? Can we get a photo? And you're like, yeah, sure. Like, this is cool. Awesome. I love that. Thank you. And then all of a sudden it just happens. And then you go to the shops for lunch and you like school times were just epic. It was just like wild because, I didn't notice how popular the show was until getting on it. And then you'd have busloads of tourists from like England, Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand, because they were that's the biggest audience for Home and Away besides Australia. And like, I think they said statistically like half the country of Ireland would watch Home and Away religiously. But all those shows just, so they just loved it. So in holiday time, if they came to Australia, they wanted to do a tour of Summer Bay. So during their holidays and stuff, you'd have busloads of tourists rock up. They'd all hop out. They'd see the diner, and on the other side, the surf side, the Summer Bay Surf Club. On the thing, A. Stewart, manager or whatever it is of the surf club, and they would watch you do scenes. And in scenes off, I'd just go lay on the beach and have a swim because why not? You're filming on the beach. I got an hour and a half off. I'm going to have a swim. And so I'd be laying on my towel, and they'd just come over and can we get a picture with you? And like, yeah, 100%. But the busloads when they'd rock up and you just see their faces when they see the set and they're like, that's the bit that they do this on and that's what they do that on. And the eyes are just lighting up. And so people would be there first thing in the morning, in the afternoon, then it's just crazy, when you go to things like the Logies and the Actor Awards and stuff like that. It's a real whirlwind, and it's funny because it's something when I get asked about it, it's something that I'll never get used to, and I'm happy about that. Like I'll never stop appreciating it. Just like I was saying about Johnny Farnham, the day it'll bother you when it stops because it means that they don't like what you do anymore. But it'll be something I'll never stop appreciating, but it'll be something I never get used to because 19 years of not having that and just hanging out and kicking it, and then that change, it doesn't change who you are, but it just it comes with the territory. But I'm just stoked about it. Like I just want to say thank you to people who come over, you know what I mean? But it is a whirlwind, especially when you do those red carpet events and they're just lined with people and everything. It's the wildest trip.
That was a beautiful Home and Away version of what getting into fame's about. I probably want to talk more about the underbelly, the version. Like, let's talk about this. Like, no one ever asks these questions. You're my mate. You tell me to get stuff. You don't do it. Like,
Hi, I'm Tom Green, Olympic champ from Tokyo. And if you want the best tasting protein bars on the market, you should try the new BODYSCIENCE Mousse range. Greg, you better be testing these.
Mate, they're getting drug tested. Got you covered. What was that first night like out after you'd been on TV?
Look, I know this is going to sound... I know this is going to sound really polished or Home and Away-ish or PG-ish or whatever you're going to say, but in all honesty, I've always I never really go out that much, and even during my time on the show and stuff like that, I was always in a relationship and or whatever it may be. So I'd always sort of try and stay away from the scene, and I've never been the biggest drinker. Like, you have some drinks when you're with some mates,
you love
or
your health and
whatever it is.
fitness, and we'll get into
and all that
that
kind of stuff. But I've never been one to, and I guess it was also another thing of sort of growing up with the family in the public eye, is going, when you're in public, you're a representation of the organization that's employed you. And so I've always been like aware of that. And so whenever you're out, you have your fun, you chill out, you have a drink or two or whatever, but always, if you're getting a photo, you're not having a drink in your hand, all that kind of stuff. But I always tried to be, not to say I'm going to go ride myself off, but I've never been one for that anyway. Like,
okay, you can kill an old man on this side.
Mostly because I'm a little bitch when it comes to hangovers. Trust me on this.
You're a good human. Look, I just remember your underbelly scenes. Like, it's seriously, I'm just like, How was that? Like, how was doing a scene like that in Underbelly?
That was the first thing we shot
what I'm
for
talking
Underbelly.
about
I know what you're
too.
talking about, 100%. Tell you what, that was the first thing we shot for Underbelly.
Was it really?
First thing.
Did you two know each other before that?
No, I met her. I met Danielle Cormack, who is an incredible actress.
Yeah.
She is amazing. So, you know, like as you see in Wentworth and everything else she's done, she's phenomenal. But I met her, I think 2 or 3 days before we shot that scene. So I'm walking into the studios that they're filming Underbelly, right? I'm walking in to go get my wardrobe fitting and get my hair cut and all that kind of stuff. Set in the 1920s, so I had to make sure everything was set. And I'm walking towards the studios and she's leaving. And I've noticed her face. And I realized who she was because I'd seen the cast list and everything like that. So as we're walking out, and this is a couple of years after I'd left home and away and stuff like that, and she's walking out and walking in, made eye contact with her. I'm like, "Hey, going?" And she just kept walking. I was like, "Okay, never mind." And then I hear about 2 seconds later, "Oi!" Turn around. She's like, "You're going to be my boyfriend." And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, wait, yeah. So we had a quick chat. "Hey, going? Nice to see you. This and that. We'll see you in a couple of days on set." Go in, get all my stuff. And then the first scene that I shoot for Underbelly, I look on the call sheet, closed set, because if you're ever having an intimate scene, it's a closed set, essentials only. If you're not meant to be there, you're not there.
Yeah, okay.
So cameraman only, sound only, director, all that kind of stuff, and they turn the monitors off. So if you're anywhere else in the studio, all the monitors are off. So it's really respecting the professional privacy. All that. Yep. That's all great. So first scene, I was like, here we go. So we go in there and we start talking it all over. And this is what I really loved about Danielle. So we get in there and the scene says, I've just had a gang fight. We're a big gang fight. I'm all bloodied up and stuff like that. She sent her number 2 and a couple of other guys to go finish the job. So I'm in there in the kitchen. Our characters have already had a lot of sexual tension and all that kind of stuff. So there was already a prior build up, which we were going to film later on because everything's filmed out of order. I'm sitting on the chair and the scene just sort of says she's cleaning it off. The chemistry's building, tension's rising. And then after a while, we just start kissing and then heats up more, go off, pants go off, undies go off, hop on top, Underbelly style on the chair, and that's how the scene goes.
Yep.
Right. So Danielle, being a legend, just says to the director, "I think it's a bit boring."
That's gold.
And then he's like, "Oh, okay."
That
She's
is
like,
gold.
"Yeah, I think we can spice it up a bit. What do you reckon?" And I'm like, and she's like, "What do you reckon, Ling?" I'm like, this is on you. I'm like just going to sit here and shut up. And then so she just decides how to change this scene. I'm not going to go on the nitty gritty of it, but she just thinks of a couple of these ideas and changes it up. And what you see on that scene is how Danielle decided it needed to be. And it made it this scene that it was.
Yeah,
and
correct.
she was a bloody legend.
Yeah,
and it
that's
was
awesome.
so hilarious because she sort of mapped it out and then she's like, "Link, do this, Link, do that, Link, pick me up, da-da-da." And then because the character ends up on the table and then she just looks at the director, she goes, "Don't you think that's more interesting?" And the director and I are like kangaroo in the spotlight. We're like, "Yep."
Yeah.
Yeah. But she was another example of being the ultimate professional.
Yeah,
she's
okay.
strong, she's powerful, she's an amazing actress and just holds so much strength. And so I was really stoked I got to work with her throughout those episodes that I did because I learned a lot from her. And yeah, I was working with Danielle Cormack, John Batchelor, and then a lot of the other actors that were on that show. They were fantastic actors. And so getting to do the role that I did was obviously very fun, but it was a real privilege. So Underbelly was great.
Just getting back into that acting frame a little, and something that I'm looking at you and I love hearing your stories and I've got lots of them from you. That's awesome. But I've never really asked you this question. Like, how hard is it to remember your lines? Like, I'm probably jumping ship here a bit, but the thing that scares me the most about if I had to be an actor was to remember lines.
Yeah.
Is it an art? Is it a skill, or is it something that's up in front of you? You can look up and see it if you need to. Like, how's it work?
It's again, I know it's going to sound how it's going to sound, but it just comes down to it's muscle memory. It's practice. It's something that you can sort of say, all right, how do just like you said, I wouldn't be able to learn lines, but if we were to sit here right now and I was to say, okay, learn this page of all your lines that you have to say, you'd struggle to do it, right?
Yep.
But if you spent 3 to 4 months,
I write your name at the top so I can remember what your name is when I talk to you.
you got weirdly enough, you got my star sign, my address. Shit. All right. You've done your homework. So, but if you were to spend months doing it, it would improve dramatically.
I would assume it was a lot harder with Home and Away where it was week after week after week after week after week, whereas a movie's got a start and a stop.
Yeah.
And so you can...
Which is why you learn so much in shows like Neighbours and Home and Away.
Yeah.
Because again, you hit the ground running and you don't have time to stop. So it's that whole sink or swim kind of thing. So what it is you're not going to get on a project like that without doing the work to get you there. You know what I mean? So you're doing the acting classes over time. You're not just going to sort of wake up one day and go, hey, I want to be an actor. Can I get on Home and Away?
Yep.
Sure, kid, come on. There's a lot of There's a lot of time spent building up everything before that. So when you're doing acting workshops or acting classes or anything, you're going to be taught different things and you find something that works better for you. So different ways of breaking down the scene, breaking down the character, everything that gets involved with that. So, you're kind of building it up over time. And then the more you do it, the more obviously it's going to start feeling like second nature to you. And then it becomes a bit of muscle memory. Yes, it's going to always be hard work, but just like a gym workout, you can't go to the gym once and then go, I'm fit. It's a constant build up and then it's maintenance after that. So you're always going to be working on it. So even when I was doing acting classes in the States, there's people in those acting classes that I was watching in movies and I'm like, holy crap, part of you goes,
okay, wow,
holy crap, hang on a minute. Like, why do you need to go to an acting class? But in saying that, it's always about maintenance. You can't just hit your peak and then go, well, I don't need to try anymore. Yeah. Because that's when you fail. Because if you once, and I remember that's something Chris Hemsworth said to me, because my first 3 weeks on Home and Away was Chris's last 3 weeks.
Okay.
And we had a couple of chats, not that many, but we had a couple. And one thing he did say to me is he goes, just remember how lucky you are to be here. And it was really cool because I was picking his brain and he was really happy to sort of have a bit of a chat with this sort of new kid on the show that was really wanting to have a listen. And Chris was only about, I think, 24 at the time or something like that. So, but he was a superstar of the show already,
Okay.
Not Thor size, but he was big and he walked into a room, you knew he was there. He just had this aura about him. And I just remember him saying to me, remember how lucky you are to be here. He said, because there will be people that'll get their dream and they'll take their foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
He said, when you get the job, that's when the hard work starts, because getting there is hard enough. But once you get there, it's about staying there and building and getting better and improving on your acting ability, your evolving your role. And then once you finish that role, it's about getting another role. But that's when the hard work starts, is when you get the job. Because when you get, like, up until that point, the audition, that's all great. But then you've really got to tell the story after that. And you can't take a second just to relax. It's all fun. It's an amazing time, but you cannot just think that you can coast your way through it.
And do you put yourself in that character in your life during that period, or you switch on, switch off as you?
Sometimes, I switch off, but sometimes it can be a risky thing when some actors go method. Mm-hmm. It depends what works better for you. At the end of the day, if it works for you, if it does what it needs to do on screen, sweet. But some actors, if they go method, they may have a hard time switching off. Others can just switch off like that. I know there's been times where I've done emotional, heavy scenes, and for the rest of the night, I've just been shithouse. Like, don't want to talk on the phone to anyone, just want to sit on the couch, just want to be in my own space and sit there like a little sad case, purely because in order to get to the point I needed to get to cry my eyes out for that scene, I had to sort of work my mind up into a state of depression to get to there. Yeah, because, okay. I can't just cry on cue. Like, I know people that can just go, hang on a minute, sit there, about 5, 6, 7 seconds later, their eyes start welling up.
Stop it.
And within 10 seconds, they've got a teardrop. And then I remember, and yeah, I got a friend that did it, and then she was just like, yeah, man, that's how I do it. And she was a legend, but I can't do that. And so for me, like, to work myself up to that point, but then switching off, because once you do the scene, it's like, great, all right, next scene, good job, guys, moving on. And for them, it's moving on, but for you, you're emotionally just broken. Mm. So yeah, so when you put yourself into the role, you just got to make sure it works for you mentally. Thankfully, for the most part, a lot of roles I've done haven't really required me to go to, unless it's an emotional scene where you're crying or whatever it is, I haven't needed to go to those depths. But mind you, I am looking forward to the time I get to do that. There was a role I was going to do, I was going back a couple of years now, where I'd originally planned to, because of the spiral of the character mentally, the project never went ahead. Like, we're all locked in for the roles and stuff, but the project never went ahead. And I was genuinely excited about just seeing how far I could take my mental limits and then trying to break them. You know what I mean? And just trying to absolutely break them. And yeah, one day that'll happen. But for when you say, do you take it home with you and stuff like that? Yeah, sometimes, parts of your role can bleed out into you. You hear the big superstars, Jim Carrey. I think he was talking about a role where it sort of, it changed him a bit. And that's not saying whether that's good or bad. That's just saying, it definitely impacts you. And thankfully with my role as Jeff on Home and Away, he was a really lovely guy. So there was different things about Jeff. I was like, I really admire this about this character, and spending 3 years playing that character was really cool. Yeah, and cool. Yeah, and then there's other roles where you just you take experiences of your own life, or you know a friend who reminds you of this character, and then you go, well, actually, hang on, that's a really good idea. So I'm going to steal my memories of that friend and incorporate that into the role. And for the time being, you can do little bits and pieces about that role. But I think I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent. But yeah, for me, I try to always stay aware if you're ever going method. Mm.
Wow, big call. Who is mentoring you in this space? Like, are there any other actors around that lead a hand, or just say, come on down and catch up with me, mate, we'll have a chat?
Yeah.
Do you have anyone in that space?
Yeah. I'm very thankful in this instance. So obviously there's a guy called Todd Lassance, and Todd and I did Home and Away together for years, and then we've worked together on Black Site, and we've been mates for 15 years now. And Toddy actually just got one of the lead roles on NCIS Sydney.
Oh, nice.
Which is fantastic, yeah. And so we really chat all the time. We get on that same wavelength, and we really help each other out. We pick each other up when each other is sort of having those doubts, because you get a lot of those in this industry.
You're hitting 100. What'd you say? 100 plus?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And so you sit back and you go, yeah, am I ever going to work again? And all those kinds of things that you have. So Toddy and I sort of coming up together and being in that same sort of mindset, but obviously having our differences it just really helps. So there's people like Todd and stuff like that. But then I'm very fortunate, and I've never really said this, because I always like to keep certain friendships and relationships quite private and stuff like that.
Don't need to, mate.
No. But I've never really said this, just purely because, like, for me, I enjoy the relationship of what it is. Whereas, in this industry, there can be a lot of name dropping. There can be a lot of fake relationships.
You've got a few good ones on the way. I
Yeah.
picked the mic up 3 or 4 times on the way through.
Thankfully, for the last couple of years, a really good friend he's been a great friend and a great mentor is Russell Crowe. And
sorry,
the mic dropped, mate. Yeah, I knew we were going to do that. But Russell,
that's a good one. You couldn't pick a better one.
He's a phenomenal human.
Yeah.
He's obviously his accolades speak for themselves. But Russ is he's always been so generous with his time and with the wisdom that he's willing to impart. And he's been a mentor for the last couple of years. And every now and again he'll just check in on me. How you going? And how's this going? And if I've got a role, I'll let him know about it. And then he keeps checking in. And there's been several things that he's written to me, which I read before every audition now.
Wow.
And cool. Things to keep in mind. And then
pre-game ritual.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there was one role I nearly got, made it to the final 2 for it. And I remember, so he was checking in with me the week before it, days leading up to it, the day of, and then message me when you do it, after you've done it, messaged him, great. And then he was just sort of like, great, mate, you'll have a lot of adrenaline after doing it and doing a good job. Just make sure you go do this, get rid of that excess energy, just little things.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, he obviously he's been there. He's done all these amazing, huge films, but he still knows how that feels.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wants to sort of help, as well as, we've got that friendship, but he also has that want to be a mentor. And there's actually a lot of actors which can say the same. I've bumped into a few actors over time, and Russell's actually done something quite similar with them. And he's just a very generous human being. And I don't, it's actually quite cool, because he does it, but he never wants to put it out there, the good work that he does or the people that he helps. He just does it because he wants to do it. Yeah. And so Russ, there's a lot of people which I've got so many people, but also people like myself who've got such a deep admiration, but a deep gratitude for him.
I love when I hear stories of, Body Science is 24 years old. We've been with the South since 2003. When I first met you, it was like back in 2000, just before
2019.
Yeah.
So 2019.
You were doing a cover of a magazine or something.
Yeah. I was doing the transformation cover issue of Men's Health.
That's right.
And then you guys were actually sent me a lot of supplements. So the protein, the bars, the pre-workout, everything.
Yep.
And honestly, that ever since, because I never really used to take protein or anything like that. I never really knew what to do.
Yep.
And I would just sort of train. I'd run or go surfing or whatever. And I'm sore. I don't really know what to do about it.
Because you've really changed your training lifestyle, haven't you?
Very much.
Yeah. Like you're a serious trainer now.
Yeah. So, and honestly, it kicked off in 2019. Yeah. And so when we did that Men's Health cover, that completely changed the way I train. I look at, I approach training, because I never used to think of stuff.
How are the nerves knowing you're going to be on the front of a magazine? Because they don't do the bullshit on that magazine, do they? They put you on that magazine. They don't touch it up a single bit. Yeah. No, and I remember asking, a lot of people wouldn't know that.
Yeah, because I remember asking. I said I made a joke. I don't know, about my chicken legs or something like that. And I said, can you just highlight my calf lines a bit, make my calves look? And he's just like, no, we don't touch it. And I was saying it in jest. I was saying it as a joke, but it was cool because he goes, no, we don't. That's what we don't do any of that. What the photo takes is what we print.
Yep.
Simple as that. And that was really cool, because whatever work you put in gets shown. It's no enhancements. And so we trained for 12 weeks with Jono Castano. And look, I was nervous, but Jono was saying it the whole time, trust the process.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, again, put in the hard work day after day after day, and don't expect immediate results. Just know that your goal is there, but just get to the end of this day.
And that's why you need a coach. Everyone who wants to change their body composition needs a coach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's so much we don't know, and there's so much we think we know. If I do this and if I do that, then yeah, I should be sweet, right? It's like, no, there's 100 other factors involved. And even if you do know it, having a coach keeps you accountable, because you may just get sidetracked, or you may forget something on the day. So you're so right. Having someone keep you accountable every step of the way is exactly what you need. And so yeah, when we did that, I think I was more nervous than excited, which surprised me, because obviously when you're bearing yourself like that, you open anything you do in the public eye, you run that risk of judgment, you know what I mean? Which is a big part, especially with social media. That's why I was more excited than anything, because I knew I like the physical results is what everyone saw, but the mental results is what I felt and what I knew. And at the time I was broken mentally. I was done. Like at the time, like physically I was the worst I'd ever been, but mentally I just remember being in the worst place I'd ever been. And not a lot of people knew it. And obviously I spoke about it in the article and stuff like that. But like, I remember calling up my best mate one day, and I told him like probably a year later. And I said, dude, I'm pretty sure you probably saved my life through this chat. And I just rang him one morning, because I remember waking up and I was just like, why? I just woke up and was like, what? Why? Like, I never ever thought of, doing anything or anything like that. You just have that thought of just going, I don't know why. Why'd I wake up? Why'd I have to? And I called my best mate. I was on my way. I jumped in the car, went for a drive, and I called him. And he's a school teacher, but he was an MMA fighter. At one time, he was a UFC fighter. So he's like, he's always busy, nonstop, and he's been my best mate for a long time. And I called him. He's like, "Hey, bud," and he's up in Airlie Beach, and he was just about to start teaching. So it was about sort of 8:15 in the morning, and I was just like, "Mate, I need you to talk to me. I don't care what you talk to me about. Just talk to me." And he just, without even hesitation, he's like, "All right, bud. So me and so and so went to the movies on the weekend," and he just talked about normal stuff because that's what I asked him. And after about 5 minutes, I was starting to grunt, make a noise, because I didn't want to say anything. And then after another 5 minutes, I sort of giggled a bit at stuff that he might have said, and talked for another little bit. And then I'd respond to stuff, and then it turned into a bit of a conversation. But whatever it was, I was just like, and at the end I was like, "Thanks, bro." He's like, "You're good, bud. All right, I'll give you a call after work." So chill, but you need mates. Yeah. You need mates. And so I got into that to say, so when I did men's health, mentally I was broken, emotionally I was broken, physically I was the worst I'd ever been, because all I do was eat shit for a pick me up.
The two go hand in hand.
And then I'd say I'm going to go to the gym to work it off, but I wouldn't. And then maybe once a week I'd pick something up and put it back down. You know what I mean? It wasn't actually working out. It was doing something stupid for the body. And then I'd just be eating a lot of sugary crap, and then telling myself I'll go work it off. And then you get like a little tiny pump from your little shitty gym sesh that you think you're doing something for about 7 minutes. You might be like, yeah, cool. I got a bit of pump in the old arms, and it goes back down. And so when we did this transformation, from the day we started, Jono was like, it's going to be painful because you're getting rid of a lot of habits. Yep. The sugar cravings, the shit food cravings, the just like getting yourself back into this routine. But I think I just sort of said to myself at the start of it, I know this is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. This is going to be frustrating. This is going to be all the above, all the things that you feel when you're changing. When something requires change, nothing's going to happen. No change happens through comfort. We're never going to change if we're comfortable. So the whole time I was happy, but happy that I was doing something, but Jesus, the training was hard. I was crawling out of that session every single day, and the food was really hard as well. Like, stop not drinking cans of Coke or soft drink or anything. So I'd substitute that with some mineral water, so at least I get that fizziness. But yeah, like you're just doing it day by day by day, and after maybe a couple of weeks, you go, "Oh, I'm noticing a little result. Something clicks." Yeah. But then I had to tell myself, "No, don't focus on the result. Get back to it. Get back to doing what you're doing." Yeah. And then as time goes on, your energy levels start changing. Your mindset starts becoming a little, like you feel that clarity. And over time, all of a sudden, the best way I can describe it is I would see things in black and white for so long through a tunnel. Yep. And then I started to see things black and white 360. And then I would start to see color in that sunrise slowly. And then over the weeks, I saw more and more color. And then I started to feel like myself again. And it's like, color returned to my mentality, my vision. And it's something that I would never project in public. So whenever someone would say something, you get that bright, happy person, but inside I knew I was like feeling like shit. Yeah. So yeah, when that front cover came out, I was so excited about it because I knew I'd put in the hard work, but I knew that physically, I knew I looked the best I'd ever looked because, the training, the eating was so important. So the training and the eating, we just nailed that. But mentally, I just felt amazing. And it was one. It's a weird thing. Like that we feel like we can't. You and I have had this chat over time as well. That it's sometimes not frowned upon, but it's almost can be smirked at to say that you're proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because sometimes you want to say you're proud of yourself, but then you go, oh wait, do I sound like a dickhead, or is that tall poppy syndrome? Is we're going to get shit put on us going, oh, you think the world of yourself, but you got to celebrate small wins.
You do, mate. You so do.
And to sit back and go, no, I'm really proud of myself for doing this.
You looked awesome on that cover.
It was. Like
I would have put money down Photoshop. Like personally, I would have gone, if I didn't know the magazine, I'm going, he's been Photoshopped as shit.
So it felt good. It felt good.
And that changed your life now. Like you
completely.
really embrace fitness and health now.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I guess that's why we've got a good relationship too, because, when you start coming to talk to me about what you want to do and where you want to go and you get involved in that, I actually buy into the program, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, that's the thing. I
think we started the hot and cold baths because one day you said, I'm really sore from training all the time. I said, I'm going to have a cold bath. You want to come?
And I was like, this is going to hurt, but sure. Yeah.
And it was terrible. He goes full neck, like commits, mate. Like I'll sit on the edge with the elbows up going, I'm in a bath. I'm feeling.
You say that now, but I'll tell you what.
He goes full underwater. Like
I was tiptoeing in and you're just like, but I'll tell you what, if you say that you can't act, if you looked like you were in your happy place in that cold pool, I was like, how is he doing this? I was teeth chattering, shrinkage for 3 days, all that kind of stuff. And you were just like, yeah, mate.
I just pulled the surfer card out. So come on, mate. You've surfed in cold water. Stop this shit.
Yeah.
Whereas you were, but you, I give it to you. You're training with the crew at Mermaid now. Whereabouts?
Yeah. So Geordie Kahu, who used to play for the Broncos, he started up the S30 gym at Mermaid.
I know Taj has been there a few times, and Joel, one of my neighbours, goes.
Yeah. So your neighbour, we trained together. The shit chat. It's great. Like,
so I'm talking to him one day, and I've gone because Joel's an IT guy, and so he used to do late nights. So his social life was hard because he was on the reverse clock of the world. Do you know what I mean? The way he used to do things at night and stuff. And he's chatting with him one day and he goes, I should move to Melbourne to meet people. I said, mate, you can meet people here.
Yeah.
Like, you're at the gym, say hello to someone.
Yeah.
Just walk in and go, fuck this. I'm just going to go say hello to someone. And if they brush me off, it's a class of 40. I'll do another one tomorrow. Don't be creepy, Joel, but just go in there. And so he rocks up and he goes, it was so funny. He goes, I met someone today. He had a Body Science bag. I'm like, I wonder who that was. I see Link a week later and he goes, I met your neighbour. He came up and said hello to me. And I went, oh no, like of all the people, like he's gone and just eyeballed you and gone up to you. And I just thought that was so cool hearing that awesome story. Yeah. And you two train a fair bit now. Like he's always there, same sessions.
Always jumping in the same classes. Yeah. So, and one thing I actually can't praise enough is those group classes.
Yeah.
Because I used to go to the gym just by myself, think that I was, and that's not a bad thing because I'd like to be in my own space. But I tell you what,
you've got to be a certain type of accountable human for that to have long term.
Mate, it's insane. And obviously it teaches you to train smarter. Yep. You got to train to suit your body type. And plus when you can jump into these group classes, you find the one that suits you most because there's a lot of those, thankfully there's a lot of ones running around now.
Yeah.
With Geordie Carr, who's won the S30 gym, I've really I love it there. There's no bullshit. It's a really good.
You look
atmosphere.
happy there, like it's on your Insta a fair bit, like
and it's a really cool atmosphere. But what I do love is that you can get in there and you can just turn your thinking off, get to tunnel vision, and you just do it. You have to keep up with everyone. So it keeps you accountable while you're training and you're absolutely knackered. But I know if I was training by myself, I wouldn't push myself even half that because I'd go, I'm too tired. I'm just going to take a quick break. I'll have a look at my phone, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no. So my whole approach to training has completely changed since doing the men's health cover. Even just looking at different forms of strength training because growing up, I never trained legs. I never did core. As a guy, you try and always just want to train your arms and your chest because that's all what you're seeing when you're looking in the mirror or whatever. But you can do that when you're 18, 19. You can do that because your body will do that like that. But when you start sort of, as the years progress, you need to train smarter. You need to do that proper strength training. You need to build up the core and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, I got a crash course in that when we did that men's health cover. And ever since then, it's completely changed the way I think about it all. And just every time you train, you're not meant to be comfortable. You're not meant to sit there going, we love it, but you love how you feel after you finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not sitting there while you train and meant to love every second of that. Like maybe some do, but there's a lot of times I'm like, I can hate this. But once you're done, you're just in euphoria.
We had a chat this morning in my gym. I got one at home and I train with the Colonel and Cherie trains a lot with me. And I was talking to the Colonel yesterday because I was talking to another one of my mates and he said, I haven't been training for a while. And I went, why is that? He goes, because I don't know which Greg I'm getting. And I'm going, fuck you. What does that mean? And he's like, my lifestyle's been pretty turned upside down and pretty busy in the last year. And he goes, I just don't like some of the Gregs I get. I'm going, oh, okay, well, I actually go train for my mental health. Like I go in there so that I can take 20% Greg and make him 80, or I can take 50% Greg and make him 100.
That's it.
I mean, and like I saw Brian this morning, and Brian, being the colonel, he makes me so accountable. Like I don't want to let the colonel down. He stands with his arms. If I'm 1 minute late in my own house, he'll look at me with his arms folded and just gives me the colonel look, and I love it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I was thinking about that comment, you know, the one, Greg, about which Greg do I get? And he goes, I think that too. I've gone, oh God, I've got some type of complex now. Like all my mates wonder which Greg it is. And I sat around and I said to him, right, Brian. Oh, mate, I come with my 20, but I'll give you my 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's where I love that space that you're talking about. I've got my little crew that I train with, and it's really cool. And I open my eyes up. Like I do come down some mornings, and I'm just like, oh fuck, I don't want to be here. Like, but I'm there because the colonel. I'm scared of the colonel, so
that's it.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
But
at the end of it, we fist pump. We go get a coffee.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
and that's my routine in my life, and I love that part of my life right now. But it was just really interesting to hear you talk about that same thing. That routine's become part of your life, and you embrace it. Like I see what you're doing and where you want to go, and I love the passion of you, Link. Like I just think you're a great human to be around, and you lift me when you're around me. And I know it sounds a bit should we hold hands?
No,
but it's
I'm going to touch base on what you just said in a second. But yeah.
But I love that space, and I'm really glad that in 2019 you got that opportunity from someone to be on that magazine, which was probably more of a media thing for you at first in your head. Like it was, I can resurrect, I can do this. Like it's one of the.
In all honesty, it didn't even start like that. So by chance, I had a catch up with the guy who was the editor of Men's Health. There was a couple of us who got invited to this golf day in the Goldie, and we all had a feed that night, and all the other boys that went to bed, and me and Scotty.
Scotty, was he there then? Was he?
Scotty,
He's
yeah,
a legend.
and he's a great guy. And we were just there chatting late at night, talking life. You know, you're talking your motivations, your aspirations, inspirations, what drives you, what breaks you, all that kind of stuff. And started getting into it. I didn't open up too much, but I let him know I was just kind of like, dude, I'm training shit, this and that. And I said, the only time I've wanted to train lately is watching when I saw Creed 2 in the cinemas. And he goes, oh yeah. I said, mate, Michael B. Jordan, you know, because he's just such a beast. And he said, yeah, we had him on the cover recently. I said, I know. And I said, mate, talking to covers, like, you guys do those transformations, eh? And he's just like, yeah. I said, would you ever consider me, maybe? Like, and I expect him just to sort of laugh me out of the room, you know what I mean? And he just looked at me in wide eyes and he said, would you consider doing it with us?
Oh, that's awesome.
And I said, mate, 100%. I said, look, you know, where I am is the worst I've ever been, all that kind of stuff. And I said, dude, I need to turn it all around. And if you and the team would be willing, I would love to sort of, you know, jump on that. If you haven't done a transformation this year in a while, I said, no, we're actually wanting to hold a meeting soon about who to have on our next one. And so anyway, we shook hands.
Other big names have been on there too, just quietly.
Yeah, I know, right? Then so I think Guy Sebastian was just before that and everything. And
Rock.
Yeah. So there we go. And but it was funny because he goes, oh, how long would you want to train for? Would you want to do 4 weeks? And I was like, didn't you do a 12-week one? He goes, fuck, do you reckon you could handle that? And I was like, mate, if you would let me do this for 12 weeks, let's do it. And so we shook hands there and then, made a deal. About 3 weeks later, he calls me. He goes, the team's keen. They want, when do you want to do it? You'll have to move to Sydney though. And I was like, just let me know when. So I think a couple of weeks later, bags were packed. I had one of my best friends let me rent her a little spare room in Sydney. Yep. And and then it all sort of started. But mate, just to quickly touch base on something that you just sort of said, isn't it funny? Like, you know, routine is something that's so important, especially, I mean, for me in my industry, the ups and downs, the continuous sort of not knowing when your next job's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. So you need routine to keep your mind strong. You need to, otherwise, without routine, you just start to crumble a bit, right? So yeah, that's why this is so important with me at the moment is to sort of have a balanced routine. And obviously I'm doing the presenting thing as well as the acting thing and different sort of MC gigs and whatnot. So I'm always just trying to keep busy. But, you know, keeping your mind and your body in check is so important. But then, you know, when we're just sort of having something you were saying before that and made a little joke, isn't it funny that when we pay each other compliments, it's almost like we don't know if we can or not.
It's so true.
You know, we're here to build each other up, but it's like I caught up with some mates last night, a couple of mates from back in Brizzy. And while we were sitting there having a chat, at each of the boys at different times of us having a feed, we just went and had a steak at our old local in Brizzy.
Oh, check my phone. I didn't get that one.
No, the courier pigeon, it got caught. It got lost in the clouds. It's been raining lately. So I'm sure it'll arrive. It's just like, where's that jacuzzi invite? But not one bloke didn't say, boys, we need to do this more. We really need to do this more. It's good to see is and everything. Like the importance of having good mates and taking that time away from life, your routine, whatever it is, to have that time just to sit back and be able to switch off with those people that you love and you can trust, family, mates, all that kind of stuff. And to be able to build each other up. It's sometimes weird because we can build each other up in some instances, but in other times we go, oh, it might sound a bit weird if I give you a compliment about this without having to make a comedic comment on top of that. And that's the Australian way, which is absolutely great. But isn't it crazy how sometimes we don't feel we can give someone either a compliment or the recognition they might deserve or need at the time without thinking that we might come across a certain way. You know, we're in such a crazy time at the moment where, you know, not to get sort of too deep about it, but social media encompasses our lives, and it's gotten to a point where, you know, people's attention spans are so short that you can't really be present in the moment. But because of that, you have a constant anxiety of you're just seeing anxiety rising and also that feeling of inadequacy because you'll compare your worst days to someone else's best is what you'll see on their feed, right? So there's all these sort of ups and downs, and some people are deleting the apps because they're like, I can't sit on my phone all day like I have been. So, you know, mental health has never been more important than what it is right now. And it's just funny, we're at this time where we still also feel that we sometimes can't give people the props that either they need, they deserve, or that you just want to share, and that might lift the moment. It's just it's so weird, isn't it? Like, you know, it's a weird time in society. Anyway, so
let's make a commitment to each other that we'll do the right thing.
Yeah, 100%, and we always do.
I'll start.
You know, when the mics aren't on, I mean, I'm gonna, you know, pay credit when credit's due. Is that when the mics aren't on, you and me are having chats. We really, you know, we don't hold back, and that's something I always appreciate about you, and that I've obviously, you know, I've learned a lot from you. So, you know, for anyone who's listening, I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you've got a mate or a family member, just send them a message and say, I'm thinking of you. Hope you're having a good day.
Yeah. And we do that all the time. Like, that's it. And I enjoy that, mate. It's like a little spark. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The smallest thing.
I thought he'd lost my number. But look, I will admit, and I, you know, saying some nice things, when we're at the hot and cold pools, I do look better when I'm sitting next to you. Like, you make me look better.
Mate, you're a 10, I'm a 2 with good lighting. That's why.
I'm just taking the piss. I just
surround yourself.
I just enjoy that time when we actually get to unstrap, me as the executive and you as an agent, and we just talk shit, you know, and two guys, and you've got a great network outside of that, and I've got a great network, and it's really cool just the way that we can be very honest with each other. And I mean, I lean on you when I'm having bad days. I go, Link, I'm having a shit day. Can you talk me through this? And you often do that with me as well, and I respect that. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that. Mate, we probably need to start wrapping this out. We could talk for hours and days, you and I. Yeah. I haven't even done a product plug yet. Like, I'm going to get crucified if I...
Well, this BODYSCIENCE water bottle, this alkaline water that you've got is absolutely fantastic. Actually, a quick product plug. We were just touching base on it when I was doing the men's health stuff, and you guys sent me all those products. I haven't touched another product since because... And I will never push a product, a company, anything if I don't genuinely believe in it. Yeah. You know, over the years you get offered to do different collaborations, and some of them throw stupid money at you. And even there's been times where I've been on or below the red line financially, which is actually a lot of the time when you're in this industry. And I'll still turn them down because it doesn't align with me. And one thing I will say about BODYSCIENCE, and not a word of a lie, is that is the only product that I like, that works for me, that I feel I get my best results out of. So when it's like with your protein, I love the lean, the lean protein, but also the bars. I froth them. Yep. Yeah.
You're a collagen man too these days.
Oh, so I will not go a day without the clean greens and the collagen. So I'll put both of those together in the same. And then I
said to him one day, like, I'm going to tell a real story here.
Here we go.
I said, mate, you're doing a lot of training. You're doing a lot of flying and stuff too. Like you want to get away and stuff. You're in and out. And I don't know, when you fly, you just don't feel right.
That's it.
And he's going to me, what do you got, Greg? That makes me sort of feel a little bit better. I said, mate, I just reckon you should do the clean greens and the collagen together every morning as you open it. Like, that's you train early or whatever you do. It's his best idea he's ever had now. I hear him telling everyone about it. Like, it's his best idea.
Yeah. I don't shut
Simple
up about
life hack. Yeah, but it's an easy one, isn't it?
Mate, it is honestly an incredible product. Yeah. So I will have that every single morning. And then there's the Triandra bowl as well. So I'll make sure I have that. And then obviously you've got the calm support, and then there's also
I wasn't going to go through them all, but
no, there's zinc and magnesium as well.
Yeah.
So you guys have nailed the whole range, and everything. But in terms of the clean greens and the collagen, put them together in some water. That is the best start to the day.
I hear people come to me and say, Link was telling me use this.
Yeah.
It must be because you look so good. Like your skin looks collagen.
It's all just
I don't know what it is.
from the inside out, champion.
Hey, I love it.
No, but I do love the Body Science product, and obviously all the different people that you've had over the years that are continuously using it wouldn't be using it for no reason. So
25 years in Feb.
25 years.
25 years. That's what are you, like 17 or something? Like that's just a little bit.
I'm just turning 22. Turned 22.
You know what it's like. But mate,
decade.
I have loved having you on. Thanks for turning up,
mate. Thanks for having me. It's been good. We've been chatting about having this chat,
and
for
it was only
now.
because you wrecked my movie on the weekend, and
that's basically saying, Lincoln, you have to get the hell out of here now. Time is up, champion. Yeah, and I apologize about wrecking your movie.
Yeah, I tell you what though, you took that knife well. Did that hurt? Like, fuck, that thing, like that was thrown.
I've got to tell
it
you
looked like it was. They're rubber on the end, and
so the prop knife is the blade is rubber, but the handle was metal, right? And
so how did you know that the rubber was going to hit you? Well, you didn't.
So here's a good story, right? Because
I laughed like shit when it landed in your chest. But,
Oh yeah. So when we were shooting that, the lead actor, so Jason Clark, they were shooting his close up and his mid shot. So both cameras were shooting towards him, and he pops around the corner and just throws this knife. So his character's this ruthless assassin.
Yep.
Throws the knife, goes straight into my heart, straight into the chest, and then my character just falls dead. Right. Yep. Now, when he was shooting that, he had the prop, and obviously for his close up, he's given it his all to make that shot work.
Yep.
Because he just pops around the corner. But he launched that thing. And I didn't know that handle was bloody metal until he's launched it with absolute accuracy. And I'm standing like a meter away from, less than a meter away, from the camera. So if that went to the other side, it would have went straight into the camera. And it's just connected into my chest. And it's just this big thud, and it's hit me, and I've went, I've just fallen onto the ground, back onto the stunt mat, fallen down. They've had him do his thing, and then he comes over to the first AD, the assistant director goes, "You're right, did that hit you?" I went, "Yeah, a little bit." And then it comes over, and then Jason comes over and he goes, "Hey mate, sorry, did that hit you?" I just went, fucking oath it hit me, mate. I think it went through me. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Anyway, next take, he's launched and has hit me on the shoulder. But I was prepping. I was prepping so hard. This is gonna collect me. But you get them on the big jobs, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
There's always a lot of fun. Sometimes if things don't go according to plan, or if they do, it just makes it more interesting. But I love all that stuff when you get to sometimes do your own stunts, whether it's a fight scene, or whether it's just copping a hit, or bloody jumping off something, or standing around during an explosion. When the war began, I was running up and you jump in the air with all the big explosion happening behind you and stuff like that. It's so fun.
That was my favorite piece of you, just quietly.
That was so much fun. Oh, and we did that in one take.
Did you really?
In the Tomorrow When the War Began thing, yeah. So it was we could only do it in 6 takes, and so I basically just separated myself from the rest of the cast, and it was about 45 minutes just sitting there and getting my timing right and just running back and forward. Just don't mess this up, Link, because I love the books growing up, and I just did not want to miss a single beat while shooting this film, and because I know the readers would be disappointed, I as a reader would be disappointed, I as an actor would be disappointed, all the above. So I just did not speak to anyone for that time, and they said, "Yeah, we can only do this 6 times." These big air cannons filled with corks, and just a lot of just shot a wave of air, a big compressed air just being shot towards the camera to simulate the wave of the explosion, as well as this big line of wall of fire, shooting up towards the sky. So it looked awesome. Anyway, and they just said, "We can only do it 6 times. Only enough pyrotechnic stuff to do it 6 times." Fuck, I don't fuck this up. Anyway, so we're getting ready. And the AD goes, "All right, when they thought everything's set up. All right, Link, when I say 3, you start running. And obviously on action is when the fire will happen and the air will shoot out." And I said, "No." And he goes, "What?" I said, No. When, just before you say 1, I'm going to start running." And he sort of smirked. He goes, "Nah, Link, just hear me out. When I say 3, start running, okay?" And I was like, No. When you go to say 1, I'm going to start running. Trust me on this. And I just looked at him dead in the eye. And I was confident in myself. And then he goes, "All right, you sure?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "All right, guys, Link's going to start running on 1, but on action, everything goes. I can't remember the exact words he used. And he goes, all right, mate, we can only do this 6 times, so hope you get your timing right. And when he walked away, I thought, oh, fuck. I said that with so much conviction. I hope I don't stuff this up.
I thought it was Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I had my moment. I thought this is gonna make or break my me on set, because if I have any confidence with anything else, they'd be like, Link, do you remember the time?
Yeah, exactly.
And anyway, so we're doing it. Ready, 3, 2, and started on 1, and I just jumped in the air, done the thing to feel the air go behind us, feel the heat of the fire, all the above. The whole cast falls back and land on the stunt mats, all that kind of stuff. And they had about 5 cameras shooting it and in slow-mo and all that kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, oh no, I didn't flick my head back as much as I wanted to. I didn't do this with my arm as much as I wanted to.
Is that seriously went through your head after all that explosion?
1,000 thoughts.
Wow.
Like even when I did it, I went, as soon as even I was in the air doing it, I went, damn it, in my own head. And it landed. And then, so I've stood up straight to the director, beeline for him, and said, Stewie, I'm so sorry, mate. I will get it right. Trust me, this next time I'm going to nail it. I promise you, I'm so sorry. And I started walking back, and he goes, Link, where you going? Come back. We got it. I said, what? He goes, we got it. That's it. Boys, check the gate. We're going to move on, but that's it. That was perfect. And I went, no. And I said, no, I there's something I want. And he goes, I'm stuttering now because I remember all the excitement I had at the time. But I said, no, there's something I wanted to do. He says, no, come and have a look. And they had 4 monitors. And they come along and behind that, looked at the monitors, and they replayed it from all the different camera angles and just like that shot and just jumping in the air, this. And I was like, it looked different to how it felt, but the timing was perfect. And I was just like, oh shit, that's an action movie. Like, as a kid, you're like,
gold.
you want to do that action movie thing. And I got to do the action movie thing. And they're like, that's it. All right, guys, that's perfect. Let's start, de-rigging all this, and they're like, great job. 1 take. And I was like, oh, I didn't stuff it up.
That's gold, mate. That is gold. That is almost as good as your picture on fingernails I saw the other day on your Instagram. That someone had your picture on their fingernails. What was that? Do you sell those?
Nah.
Is that on your website? I reckon you should.
Not as much as my tattoo, or your tattoo of me on your ass, but we won't talk about that, will we?
Oh, that's gold. Mate, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on board.
It has, buddy. Thanks for having me.
You're part of the family here. We love it. And stay true.
Mate, 100%. No, this has been great.
Brother.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, mate.
Lots of love.